Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. I know, third one this week. You guys are getting spoiled. I swear, I'm gonna have some spoiled kids here. I got enough of those already. I don't need any more. But as always, I am your faithful host, Jeremy. Here, trying to make the world something a little more normal. Does it ever really happen? No, no, never happens. Might never happen. Who knows? But as always, there's a guest here to help me on that perilous path. And my guest tonight is Jenny Archer, a hypnotherapist, tarot reader, and a lot more, but we'll get into all that in a little bit, of course. First things first, how you doing tonight, Jenny?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Been a busy day, but I get to end it with a podcast, and that always makes my night extra special. Especially
Absolutely.
because especially because we're talking two of my favorite things. So I am very pleased about that.
Yeah.
So let's start off this interview the way I start off every interview. What brought you down this perilous path into the paranormal spiritual world?
That's a loaded question. Um, it honestly started when I was a very young child, when some of my first memories are of a apparition or creature kind of standing over my bed. Um, until I was about 9 years old every night of my life, and so I always knew there was something more, and come to find out this was a figure that millions upon millions of children see throughout the world, the black hooded figure with the red eyes. Um, so it just kind of put me on a path, I think, different than most people because I was already exposed to this, so I wanted to kind of seek out and understand that even more.
And actually, I mean, I've heard of that figure particularly, but not as I honestly thought you were going to say Hat Man. I honestly thought you were going to say Hat Man, but
Yeah.
uh, hooded figure with red eyes. I don't hear of too many people saying they saw that as children, which kind of intrigues me because that's that's ominous. That's scary. I mean, a
Yeah.
Hat Man's one thing because it just looks like an older guy from a different generation,
Right.
but the glowing red eyes,
It was
yeah, I
it was
feel.
really frightening as a child. What's interesting is my daughter saw it too. I never told her about it. She saw it too when she was young, and she's, a young adult now. But for her, it wasn't frightening. I don't know if that's because I raised her very differently around the spirit world, where I was raised very religious Christian background. Um, and for her, she was raised pagan, she was raised very differently, so she had a different relationship. So to her, it was just this thing that was in her room, and it didn't bother her at all.
So, well, actually, okay, we're gonna play into this a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
So, a black hood figure with red eyes.
Mhm.
Are we thinking? I mean, my mind kind of goes to one or two places. I'm thinking it's either a shadow person of some kind, or I mean, the black-eyed children kind of come to mind as well. I don't know why. I mean, it's different, but I mean,
It definitely wasn't the black-eyed children. I have had several people in my paranormal group when I used to actually do paranormal investigating experience those. Um, and it wasn't like anything else I'd ever seen. I've experienced shadow people. I've seen that and been around that. This was very, very different. It didn't say anything, didn't move, didn't want anything that I knew of. It just stood right and just stared. And it was the strangest thing. It never moved. Um, yeah.
which I mean, the fact that it never moved kind of makes me like wonder, like, is it a figment of the imagination, or because I mean, if there's
No.
entities tend to move,
So here's the weirdest part of it. When I was 9, my father had a night job cleaning buildings, and I went with him to as he was cleaning a building, and I waited in the break room. And I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough to remember those accordion things you could push to close a room off or open them back up, um,
yep.
to divide a room. So I had a hold of one of those. I was 9 years old, and I was just pushing it back and forth, and I looked to the right of it, and that thing was right there. And that was the first time I'd ever seen it outside of my house. And I got so irrationally angry as a self-righteous 9-year-old. and said, "That's it. I've had it. No more. You don't scare me. I'm not afraid of you. Go away." And I never saw it again.
Interesting. I mean, yes, I'm old enough. I remember classrooms in school that had those in the middle to separate them. Yeah, so I, yeah. But it's funny because I had a guest on last night from the Middle East, India area, and we were talking about Qureens. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Mhm.
Um, basically, in Islam lore, they are basically the double of a person, but kind of in spirit form. And
Okay.
they're supposed to kind of follow you around your whole life and either protect you or mess with you depending on how they feel about your life at that moment. So, I mean, I mean, the fact that I was talking about last night kind of, I don't know, it's fresh in my mind. So maybe this is some kind of, maybe there's an English American version of this as well that we just don't. There's not enough studies done about to really like give it a name yet.
Yeah.
But that's weird. I mean, if it is that, then it always still be watching you, but it just wouldn't. If he said like if you tell it to go away, it'll go away.
Yeah.
I mean, he says if you start doing stupid stuff in your life or not making it happy, it may come back. But I
Right.
mean, it's I don't know. It's strange. I mean, kudos to you for having the courage to tell it to go away at 9 years old. I don't think most people would, but I know if my 10-year-old saw that in the freaking hallway, he'd be running the other way for sure. But
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
but well, so from there, where did the paranormal life kind of take you? Like when did it really emerge again?
So it never really went away. My whole life, I've been aware of things that other people didn't see, couldn't feel. So there was always that aspect. I was never the kind of person that actually saw, besides that one apparition, I've never actually, I don't see things as much as I just know that they're there and I can describe them to you. So for,
That's okay. So empathic abilities to some degree.
sort of. So, like, if there was a spirit, I could tell you there's a spirit there. He's a male in his 20s. He's wearing overalls and a straw hat. Now, I'm not seeing that in any way. It's just something I know.
So I mean, well, you are seeing it in some way. You're seeing it with your mind's eye,
Right. It's
which
called clairsentience. It's just a
yeah,
name of, yeah, of what's there.
which I mean, I've been told I'm an empath by psychics and mediums. I don't know if I am or not. I kind of feel like I might be, but I there's not proof either way yet. So I just am biding my time for the awakening to happen because it happens when it
Right.
wants to happen. So unfortunately, but oh, hey Harry, Harley. Wow, it's been a long day, Harley. I'm sorry. Uh, thank you for sharing it. And well, apparently she's seen the same thing too
Oh,
when she was.
it's very common. In fact, I was speaking with a friend probably 20 years ago in North Carolina, and I had never spoken of this to anyone because it freaked me out so bad when I was young. And we're just sitting outside having a drink on her porch, and she starts telling me about this thing she saw as a child. And I just started shaking and I got really kind of nauseous. I was like, wait, 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 wait. That's what I saw. And that's when I started doing some digging and saw that a lot of children see the Hat Man. That's very common, but this figure is also very, very common in children. And it's usually children that go on to have other abilities, other, you know, psychic abilities or intuitive abilities.
Ooh, well, okay. Before I go into what I just thought of, because I just had a Jimmy Neutron moment. But Harley said she actually saw it as an adult, not a child.
Wow.
So, but when you just said people who tend to see it tend to have abilities eventually,
Mhm.
kind of got me. It struck a chord in my head. I'm like, maybe. I mean, everybody knows we live in a multi-dimensional plane, and maybe it's from maybe it's a type of creature from their dimension that's like a guardian in ways, and it's
Mhm.
supposed to either maybe judge or watch people who are supposed to have abilities in this thing so that they don't go too far. I mean, same as extraterrestrials watch us from whenever we're messing with nukes. Like
Mhm.
I think it's kind of like the same theory in a way, but just dimensional instead of extraterrestrial, or I mean, all extraterrestrials are dimensional too in a way, but I mean, still, it's just like it's a different creature. But I don't know. I just
Yeah.
now I'm thinking about it, and God, it's good. This is what I'm gonna be thinking about all day tomorrow. I already can tell.
I wonder when once I realized that, once I found that out doing some searching, I used to wonder, like, are they testing your metal? Like, are they testing, are you going to be able to handle this throughout the rest of your life? Can you deal with this? And that's like part of your training or something. I'm not sure. But it was always fascinating to me that the children that saw this tended, and I wonder if Harley is actually intuitive and if that would track with her.
We work together a lot, and she does have abilities.
Mhm.
We never dove into how deep and how strong those abilities are, but I mean, I know she has some.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, she can see things that are there as an adult. That's what I thought. But
Yeah.
which, come to my house, you'll see plenty. But uh, so what made you? I mean, a lot of people you would think as a kid you see these things and it would scare you away from anything paranormal. It would want to make you go like the straight and narrow, or for lack of a better word. So,
Mhm.
what made you want to go into being a hypnotherapist, a tarot reader, and everything else you do?
I've always been fascinated by human behavior, and I guess you could call it post-human behavior or pre-human behavior. Like, the spirit world fascinates me, how they behave. Um, when we did paranormal investigating, like, we would get EVPs where you'd go, "Hey, is anyone here?" And you'd get no. Okay, well, that's just, yeah, you are. Like, there's a sense of humor and a real humanness, so to speak. But I part of it, I think, is because I'm also neurodivergent, so I'm ADHD, so I like to study people and see how they tick and how I can see things in a different way than a lot of people can, and neurotypical people can. And that added into my intuition makes me able my whole life to help people see things and reframe them. And so I just looked for spiritual ways to do that. How can I give people different perspective that can help empower them to help themselves or change what they want to change about themselves?
And well, okay, we're getting it. Nicole, thank you for sharing as always. Been watching, and apparently Harley also too has ADHD, and I don't know if you
Autism.
can spell that.
I'm trying to say
Oh,
autism.
okay.
Just type.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should know that, Harley. I should know that. I should know that's what you were meant to say, but I saw that word and I'm like, what the hell is that? Citizen. But yeah. I mean, it's kind of an interesting correlation the between people who are on the spectrum who have ADD, ADHD, and how they see things that other people can't see in the paranormal field. I would actually love to, if someone wants to pay me, I'd be willing to do the research, but I'm not going to just do it free-handedly. But I would love to see like the actual correlation research done between those two and see how far it goes, like how, because maybe those people are meant to. Maybe that's why there's more people with autism now more than ever, because more and more people are seeing the paranormal world more than ever.
Yes.
So
One of the studies that's come out is that people on the spectrum actually have more DMT released in their brains than neurotypical people. So that accounts for the hypersensitivity to light, sounds, textures. Um, but also, the DMT is the God particle, right? So maybe that's tapped in somehow where we have a little bit higher awareness in that way as well.
possible. I mean, it's highly possible. And yeah, I mean, it would make sense. I mean, yeah, I guess it would make sense because I mean, but it's funny because they don't know what causes it, but autism that is, they really don't know what causes it. They have thousands of guesses, but they don't know it for sure. But I mean, what if it's all part of some plan
Mhm.
that I mean, maybe it's the government's way of making people accept the paranormal more so that without them having to come out and just say, like, oh, all these things that you feared your whole life for the last 1,000 years are real. So, yeah, good luck to you. But, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a more natural way into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, as everything in the show always is, it's hypotheses. Yeah, hypothesis. That's all it is us guessing what we can guess. But to bring it back around to you, the hypnotherapy therapy part, when did you start doing that?
So that is recent. I just added that into my practice in February. I have two sides of that kind of. I have the clinical side, so doing clinical hypnotherapy, people that want to work on their anxiety, their depression, sleep issues, things like that, relationships. And then I have the other side, which is the past life regression and the ancestral regression, where I can take people back into their past lives. And they can actually, we go into the spirit world, and there is a piece of that where they're meeting with their guides and they're learning why they chose what they did in their lives. And it's fascinating to see the empowerment that brings them to go, oh, I did this on purpose. I chose this on purpose and I know why now.
Funny, because I just actually got told by a guest about a week ago that my spirit guide's name is Anthony.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm Italian, that kind of makes sense. But I'm like, okay. So like, for like the last week or two, however long it's been since that interview, I literally have been like, just like whenever I'm alone in the car or just kind of chilling, I'm just like, Anthony, Anthony, you gonna answer, buddy? And like nothing. No, I have yet to hear anything, but I think eventually, if he is there, he will answer. But I mean, he has to eventually. Eventually, he's just be like, dude, stop annoying the shit out of me. But
They're very patient most of the time, but a lot of times they won't answer. There's a lot of times they're just basically watching and making sure you don't go completely off the rails. And
well,
it just depends.
I guess that would explain why they haven't actually intervened yet. Why he hasn't intervened yet. I guess it kind of would, because I've yet to go off the rails completely. I mean, who knows what the future holds? But but Nicole. Oh yeah, Nicole said
Oh
that
yeah,
she's had a past life in UFO regression done. Yeah, Nicole is a very interesting person. I
yeah.
freaking love her. But and oh, you have
Oh,
two,
that's
Edward,
wonderful.
Edward and Elizabeth, two spirit guides. Lucky. Some of us have one. They don't even talk to us. God
Oh, you have a
damn it.
whole team. Everybody comes in with a whole team, but there's usually one main one that you're talking to most of your life.
I mean, I've yet to talk to any that I know of, but then again, who's to say? I talk in my sleep apparently, so who's to say I'm not talking to somebody actually? I never thought that till the second, but that kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
But so I like to ask this of everybody who does past life regressions. Have you done any interesting ones where you find somebody that's actually been a famous person or like a person of myth or legend in a past life?
Nope,
Nah.
I find that most of the time they're just regular everyday people. I have had some interesting off-planet ones. I have had some interesting, ones where they were animals or
Ooh.
creatures. So and it's always fun for me kind of on that side of it because they're so surprised. Like, when they come out, they're so shocked by what they experienced and how it felt. So that to me is fascinating.
I swear to God, past life regression is one thing I've always wanted to have done. I was supposed to have it done a couple years ago by one of my earlier guests, but I just never things never aligned to get it done. But because I laugh at because I'm like, swear to God, I'm gonna get past life regression and I'm gonna be a dung beetle in a life. I don't know why, but I just feel like that's gonna happen. And I'm just like, why? Like it's gonna be my luck. Like I'm not gonna have it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've always liked to joke around and say, I was King Arthur in a past life. So
Mhm, 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 mhm.
we can hope. I mean, that's why I keep asking for the famous one with everybody who does past life regressions. We're like, eventually,
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a guest who's had a king, a queen, or something like in a past life. Come on, I
no,
need some. I need it. Uh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because maybe I need to get like a celebrity past life regressionist because if you're important in one life, you tend to be important in the next life as long as you did it right. So
oh, no, quite the opposite.
really,
Yeah. What you
there's
tend to do is learn the opposite of what you learned in the last one. So, even down to if you were a murderer in one life, then you were murdered in the next one. So, there's a lot of balance that goes on in our incarnations.
I mean, That's interesting. That kind of debates the theory. It kind of is a debate for the theory of karma and dharma and all that that a lot of Western religions hold,
Mm-hmm.
or
Eastern. Yeah.
Eastern religions. Why do I always get that backwards? But
Yeah.
it's, yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing of that actually, and it kind of intrigues me because it's like that's not what I was taught about Eastern religions in college, and it kind of goes against what I was thinking. But gotta ask this though, of course. You said off-world progressions, which you're not the first person to tell me about those. But it's always interesting because it proves that we can reincarnate as extraterrestrial beings.
Oh, sure.
Which, I mean, because, well, I'm assuming at this point though that you believe in reincarnation, of course, because
Yeah.
you've seen the proof of it. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Because I mean, the theory I kind of have warped my head around with reincarnation since I've been doing this show because I've changed it a lot from people I talk to. Is that there's basically a DMV in space somewhere in another dimension somewhere that when you die, your spirit goes there, takes a number, and you basically wait for your next turn on the wheel.
Mm,
And really, ooh,
no.
I'm learning tonight. Yay! Of
So let me just talk about what I have encountered in my practice and my own research. That's all I can speak to, right?
course.
What happens more often than not is you die, you go back to your home, basically. You go back home and you have a period of rest and rejuvenation, and then you get to choose what you do next. Some people will never reincarnate again. Some people will never reincarnate on earth again. Some people will decide they want to come back as their own grandchild. It vastly varies. So there's a period of pause and then there's a period of planning, and you get to look at all of these different lives and kind of step into them for a moment. It's one of my theories on deja vu. When you have those deja vu moments, I think that's when we were in the spirit world and we stepped into this life we're trying on for a minute and then stepped back out. And so we know that moment now, and that's familiar to us, and that's a hallmark for us. So you get to pick. You don't wait on someone else to assign. That's entirely up to you and your team and your soul group.
Interesting. That's okay. That kind of ties into what guest 2 weeks ago was telling me because she said she can step into what she calls a room where she can see all her alternate lives, where
Yeah.
she can see like herself in other dimensions, basically, or in other timelines, however you want to phrase it. And I kind of call it going into the quantum realm. But
Mhm.
I mean, I it's like I never heard of anybody being able to do that really, and she was the first person to say on my show like I could do this, and it's just like really, I'm like I would love to see all my alternate lives and see like where did I go wrong? Like, is it here,
Yes.
here, 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 here? Like, I got a lot of different voices I could pick from. Like, it's just
Yeah.
there's something. The curiosity of man is never ending. But I don't know. One of these days, and I mean, if you get to choose, I want to come back as a shark. Who doesn't want to be a shark?
Do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I mean, or maybe I was one in the past life. Maybe that's why I'm so drawn to them. But who
Very, very
knows?
possible.
Who,
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, so you didn't pick the hypnotherapy up until recently. Have you been doing the tarot card reading for longer than that, or
Very long time. Yes, and I used to do energy work as well. Um, that I gave up when I sold my shop and decided to go into private practice just because it was really hard on my back just physically. That wasn't really a spiritual thing. That was just a physical choice.
oh, I don't blame you. I mean, being an energy worker is just like being a masseuse or any of those types of jobs. It's eventually gonna get tiring.
Yeah.
But and so
But
what?
I find I use
When?
it now in my sessions. There's still energy work
Oh,
happening, it's just not in the same way.
of course not. I mean, yeah, I because like when you say energy work, do you mean like Reiki or something else or?
I was never trained in Reiki and never really called to me. It's just what I've done since I was a child. If there was something I wanted to heal in myself, if there was something I wanted to shift or change, I knew how to direct the energy to do that. It was just something intrinsic in me. So I just practiced what I knew.
Interesting. Because yeah, I actually worked with a Reiki master for a good 6 months, and one of those things I didn't believe in until I had done. I was like, oh my god, it's real. Like I could actually feel it through a computer screen. Like, oh my god. But
Yeah.
it scared the crap. Kind of scared the crap out of me the first time it happened. I'm like,
Mm.
how does this work? Like, I'm a science-minded person. This doesn't make sense to me.
Quantum physics, right?
Yeah,
Einstein's key action in quantum
I'm
entanglement.
I'm science-minded, but I am not that deep into science. Quantum physics. I am not no Sheldon Cooper. So, um, by any means. But so the tarot reading. How old were you when you started doing that?
Oh gosh, I was probably in high school, early high school, and I'm in my mid to late 40s now. I'm 47. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, so as this is something I always ask tarot card readers, and they always are like, "Why do you have to ask me this? What is your favorite card to draw?"
Mm, the Queen of Wands.
Ooh, that's a unique one.
I'll tell you why. The energy around the Queen of Wands is the ultimate divine feminine. She doesn't have to shout, she doesn't have to scream or bang her fists on anything to get recognition. She sits in her energy, knowing her own worth, knowing exactly who she is, and allows the things to come to her that are meant for her. She is the moth to the flame card, and it's beautiful. It's the opposite of hustle culture.
I It makes sense. I mean, a female presence who just dominates without having to fight for it. I like it. It's
Exactly.
very feminine, but powerful. I like it. I mean, I fully support it
Yeah.
because us men, we need all the freaking yelling out we can get without getting yelled at. But
Yeah, we gotta have both. We've gotta have the masculine and the feminine divine, that balance.
so, what would you say is the most common reason people come to you for hypnotherapy?
One of 2 things. One is definitely the past life regression. People are extremely interested and curious. And for some clients, it's more about dealing with a pattern like fear of water. And so we have addressed that in clinical hypnotherapy, but it's not getting there. So then we go into a past life and discover you were a pirate that drowned. So it can be helpful in that way as well, other than curiosity. And then on the clinical side, it tends to be a lot right now about anxiety, which makes sense, right? The world is burning. So it would be weird if people aren't anxious. So they come for reasons of anxiety or generalized anxiety or being not able to be a public speaker, not able to be in crowds, things like that. And we work through those.
Well, I mean, anxiety is a huge issue now in today's world. I mean, growing up in the '90s, that's a word I never heard. Because
Right.
I mean, okay, I'm only a decade younger than you, so it's growing up in the '90s. It was like I never heard anybody say, "Oh, I have anxiety." Like
Right. Yeah.
it wasn't a phrase. Like, but in the last decade and a half, it's become so freaking common that everybody has some form of anxiety. So everybody has some kind of form of depression. It's just I mean, I feel like people are leaning on crutches a little too much, but that's my personal opinion. I don't. People can think whatever they want to think. That's not my place to say. But I mean, there is definitely a lot more to be scared of in this world than there ever was 30 years ago. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely.
That's for damn sure. So, or at least more we know about now, I should say. There was
Right.
still a lot
That's
more
the issue.
back then, but that was pre-internet, so things didn't things didn't exist because we didn't know about them. So that the ignorance is bliss. But and I mean, it's weird. Anxiety is a huge thing nowadays, and I find with a lot of people in the spiritual realm, it's a big cause for people to go seeking help other places because they don't want to take the pills, they don't want to take the
Right.
medication, which I don't blame them because you don't know what the hell it does really. Like
Right.
Noah does, but actually, oh, Nicole did ask a good question I completely forgot about for a second. What's your favorite crystal to work with?
Moldavite. I actually
Moldavite.
wear Moldavite and have for 15 years now, every day of my life. So
I can't. Moldavite. Trying to think what the hell that is. I never heard of it.
it's green. It's a very deep green. You have to be very careful. There's a lot of sellers out there that will sell you green glass because it is a vitrified substance. So what happened is right outside of Chile, um, long time ago, meteorite hit the Earth, scooped up some of the Earth, tossed all of that back up into the atmosphere. So now we have space and Earth, right? And it vitrifies in the atmosphere and rains back down onto the Earth as these little pieces and some larger pieces of moldavite. And it's one of the most powerfully vibrational stones. It acts like a snowplow, kind of. It goes ahead of you on your path, on your life path, and just knocks everything off of your path that's not for your highest good. So, if you're already doing your spiritual work, that's great. That's exactly what you need. If you're not, it looks like abject destruction. So, you've lost your job, your house, your partner, your friends. Everything falls away that's not meant for you. So it's an incredible, incredible stone to work with. I used to keep it in the shop when I owned a metaphysical shop, and I would keep it behind the counter because people have what they call the Moldavite flush. So they'll put a piece in their hand and you'll see the red start to go up their face. Their heart starts beating really fast. They get really dizzy and lightheaded, and you have to have them lay down. Um, but it's an incredible stone when you're in a space to work with it. It can change everything.
Yeah, I actually just googled the picture of it so I can see what it looks like, and that is one trippy looking crystal.
Yes.
So if I ever actually could get a chance to grab a piece of that, I might have to, just because why not?
Hold it first. Hold it before you buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I have never put much faith in crystals personally.
Mhm,
I don't have a connection like that to them. I don't know why. I just can't. I don't know. To me, I've held them in my hand before. And it's like I'm getting nothing. I'm like
mhm.
I don't feel power. I don't
Yeah.
feel any kind of calm or any kind of anything, worry, anything over it. Like it's just okay. It's a piece of a gem. Like I don't know.
You were my
I think
favorite person to give a piece of Moldavite. Those people when they came in my shop, because
mm,
inevitably they would go, "Oh, okay, now I get it."
I gotta try to find a piece.
Yep.
But we'll see. And Nicole says thank you. That's a great crystal. But so guess well actually I kind of want to hear this because we did kind of went off on your off-world past life regressions, but what is your actual theory on extraterrestrials? Like,
My
obviously you believe in
personal
them. Obviously you believe, so I'm not asking that. But why do you think they come to Earth still?
well, part of me thinks we're entertainment TV, because we sure do mess it up a lot. But my personal theory is that so you take just our solar system, right? And you have all the different planets in our solar system. I think each one of those is the main planet, the alive planet in each dimension. And so they're traveling back and forth between. And sometimes I think it may be a scientific mission. Sometimes I think it may be Junior stole the spaceship and accidentally crashed. It could be a myriad of things.
So, so based on that, you basically either believe the South Park theory or the Mac and Me theory.
I believe they're interdimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I use the word extraterrestrial because it's what everybody knows, but I tend to believe they're ultra terrestrial as well. And I mean, maybe there are some come from different planets. I mean, I question a lot about Mars and the Moon. I question a lot of things about those two places. So, I mean, there's been proof of life on both. So I kind of think that some of them are extraterrestrial in nature, but I don't. They're definitely not all. There's definitely from talking to lucid dreamers and astral projectionists. There's a lot of other dimensions with creatures in it that we don't quite understand or know.
Right.
Now, could I see the reptilians having a base in the moon? Yes, 100%. 100 freaking percent I could. I mean, they have to find a way to get back from Fourth to LA, but they figure it out. But
But we're all lined up,
or
right? All
DC.
dimensions are lined up like lasagna. So
Oh yeah,
I think maybe they accidentally fall through. Who knows?
very possible. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, dimensions get weak at certain points. Everybody knows that, and I mean, that's also kind of the theory for people's theory nowadays for Bigfoot and Dogman and all that stuff. And I have a lot of different theories on those two, but I could spend hours talking about those two and my different theories. But I feel like the government knows about all this. Like, do you not get the feeling the government like thinks they know the truth about all these things, but they're just not letting us know?
It's possible. I think they don't probably know a whole lot more than we do, the astral projectionists, the lucid dreamers, the ones who work in intuitive spaces. I think if they knew more about it, they'd monetize it.
Um, or I mean, but I think they also like us being stuck as human beings with nowhere else to go. They like us
Oh, they
being
have
here.
capitalism for that. They don't need
Uh,
aliens.
yeah, I know, but I feel like they like the status quo. They like us all scraping to earn every penny and
Oh, sure.
dime, and then having to give back to them. So, I mean, I think that's part of the thing. But I also think they like control, and they're they're using these things to learn new science advancements, and they're using these things just to further them as a whole. But it only benefits the humans when it actually makes sense to do that for them. So,
Right.
oh, there's a big pandemic right now of a disease that, might be made up. We don't know. But we're going to tell you right now that UFOs are real because this is the perfect time because
Yeah.
nobody's paying attention to it.
That was very interesting timing for sure.
I mean, it's the whole look at hand A while hand B goes underneath you. Like
Absolutely.
it's sleight of hand. Get all the sleight of hand by the government on that one. And then like 6 months later, everybody's like, "Wait a minute, did the government say UFOs are real?" I'm like,
Yeah.
six. I'm like, yeah, back in freaking March or April, they said it was. They said that
Mhm.
nobody paid attention. I'm on
Mhm.
Facebook. I'm on everywhere. Like nobody's paying attention to it. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Something I've been saying for 20, actually at that point like 33 years, and no one is saying anything about it. Come on,
Yep,
it's
that was hilarious. Well
it
played.
was. I mean, yeah, I tip my hat to them. They're playing a good game of chess to that one. But
Yeah.
so let me ask you this, because this always comes up with hypnotherapists. Because I've had people in the audience ask this question before. Because some people are scared to go to a hypnotherapist because they're scared of what will come up if they have to go to a hypnotherapist.
Yep.
And I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but for those in the audience, why should they not worry about that?
Because you are in total control the entire time. You will remember everything from your session, and you can decide whether or not you say something or keep it to yourself. You have to think all that hypnosis is the brain being in theta state. And theta state is just where we have deep meditation. It's right before we go to sleep and right before we wake up. It's driving a long way and you get highway hypnosis. It's being in the flow with music or painting. You're just in theta state. There's no Harry Potter magic to it. It's a natural state that your brain goes into, and we just utilize that to talk to the subconscious.
Now, see, I wish there was Harry Potter magic to go with it because that would make life a lot more damn interesting. I'll tell you that much right now. But uh, I mean, trust me, I could use some Avada Kedavra in my life for sure. I would. I know some people who could use that, but
Now, now.
I know, but still, yeah, it'd make life easier. But
Mhm.
so when someone's under hypnosis, like, how do they go to past lives? Is it kind of like one segment of the brain, or is it kind of pushing the brain back? I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of seeing like the X-Men Days of Future Past thing, where like it's pushing the brain back through time, kind of.
Sort of. We're going through your subconscious. So I regress them back through their life now, their current life. And then we go into the womb space. So they're experiencing being in the womb before they're born. And then we go from there into that in between space before you're um, in the spirit world, where they see, in my practice, I make it a corridor full of entrances for every past life you've ever lived. And we just kind of float and drift there until they come upon one that's interesting to them. And I let them lead me through that door. And then we go through and we see what's on the other side and what life they're stepping into.
And do the ones when you leave them there, do they get do they get actually good detail? Like, can they figure out what year it is pretty easy and stuff like that?
Yep, they'll tell me what year it is, they'll tell me where they're living, what their name is, all about their family. It's so wild to see, say it's their son in this life, and I have this part in my regression where I'm like, "Okay, take a look into their eyes, really tune into their energy. Do you recognize this energy?" And sometimes it's, "No, I don't know this person." And sometimes it's this, "Oh my god," kind of reaction that that's my child now, or that's my mother, or it's this visceral reaction, and they'll start bawling and they'll start breathing heavy, and these soul connections we carry with us over and over and over.
I mean, interesting because I've had some past life regressionists tell me like, "Oh, it's not always easy. It's not always possible to get like the exact year they're in." I'm
Oh,
like,
no, it's not always possible, absolutely,
"Oh, okay,
but it does happen.
okay." I'll say, I mean, if you go back to like the 1500s, there's not like calendars everywhere where you could just be like, "Oh, this is today." Like, no,
Tuesday. Yeah.
no. Yeah, this is how I, this is how my mind works. I jump to
Go
these.
around that somewhat. We'll say, "Tell me what's happening. Is there anything of importance happening right now?" And they'll talk about a war, or they'll talk about the sacking of a city. So there are some things you can use as context clues, but a lot of times people are just really, they'll kind of almost get fussy with me about the details. They're like, "I want to be here in this life. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking to my son." So they're very interested in their experience.
Well, of course. I mean, I see. I kind of want to do these things as like an explorer and just like be
Yeah.
like, maybe find some history facts that nobody knows. Maybe prove some things happened actually. Like, why can't I make money off this? That's my question
Right.
always. But like, I don't know. Send me back to 1776. Let me see what the Constitution actually really was supposed to say.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to freaking know. But
Oh, it doesn't
uh,
work like that.
I know. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
No,
But
spirit takes you what you really need to see. Spirit takes you there.
so actually, I kind of want to go back to this in the beginning a little bit because you said you're a paranormal investigator, and we never really talked about it. So because I have questions, I have a question or two I usually like to ask paranormal investigators. What was the most? It doesn't have to be scary, but what was the most memorable experience while you're investigating?
Wow. Um,
Everybody has one.
yeah,
Everybody.
probably, and really it was the worst experience. We had so many. It was with a really large group in the South where I lived at the time. But we did a 3-day investigation on this man's property because he had so much to cover. And there was a lot of really interesting things, funny things that we caught on EVPs. Like, ghosts are hilarious. So, like, they're just humans without meat sacks. Like, they're funny still. Um, but there was one part where he took the leader at the time of the group took a bunch of us who are more intuitively skewed to a space and wanted us to tap into what was there. And it was horrible. Um, there was It was a little girl that had been really hurt. A lot of us were getting nauseous. One of the women went over and vomited in the bushes. And when it was all over, we went and we were giving him details and all of this. And he took us back down and he said, "Just so you know, we just wanted to make sure that was the right spot. The hits you were getting were Opal Jennings when she was um, abducted." And that was a case that was in Texas, and it was a young girl that was actually abducted and basically tortured before she was killed right where he had taken us. So that was a very difficult one.
Was it a demon experience by chance, or
No, it was just ordinary, horrible humans.
I mean, well, all too common. All too common.
Yeah. But we had plenty of, like, we would have things, screaming "get out" at us where it's audible, which is not that common. You usually get them on EVP, but we would get audibles and like pulling over our equipment and, we had one that was really funny, where it made me stop and go, "Oh my gosh, are we the ghosts?" Because we had knocked on the wall and we said, "Can you do this for us to let us know you're here?" And we knocked 3 times. And the EVP that came right after that was, "Did you hear that?" So it's like the ghost was talking to us like we're the ones making the noise and they're the ones trying to figure out what the noise is. It was very interesting.
Makes me kind of question, like, because I mean, the idea behind shadow people is that they're kind of from another dimension, and
Mhm.
we kind of could just see like the shadow of them being that dimension when
Yep,
there's weaknesses and thin lines between dimensions. What if we're the same thing to another dimension?
exactly.
Like that kind of just confirms what I've always thought about shadow people. Like it
Yep.
kind of, like I don't know, it's trippy to a way. Like it's so much to wrap your head around. That's just, I mean, there's a hey, this is why I smoke. This is why I smoke, people. Just telling you. Try to figure out the damn world. This is why I smoke. But all right, well, there's a caveat question to that question always.
Sure.
What what was the most awe-inspiring moment while investigating? Like, did you guys do any crossovers or anything like that? Or
No, um, I think probably the most awe-inspiring, or for me, the most enjoyable, the most beautiful one was it was a child. We were in a hospital and there was a child who just wanted to play. And we sat there for the longest time rolling a ball, and it would sit for a while and then it would roll back to us. And then we'd roll it and it would sit for a while and it would roll back to us. And it was just this confirmation of this, and it could have been a 12-foot tall, green, three-headed, of course, but it felt very, very childlike. And that was the EVP that was coming through, the K2 hits we were getting. And it was just a really beautiful human moment of this child that just wanted to play with someone.
I mean, usually when you see that in like movies and stuff, it's usually like terrifying because it's like they roll ball rolls through the hallway and like it rolls back from the darkness and there's like before they run out of the room. But it's like that's to actually hear it in that actually in like a good moment is like
Yeah.
almost is inspiring because it's I don't know, it's just there's we try to pop culture has made things so much more terrifying than they need to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, yes, are there aliens out there like it from Pennywise? Yeah, maybe. I'm not denying that when there's bad, there's always good, there's always bad. So there's got to be a little bit of both. But I mean, we all know the reptilians are not good. So that's my main go-to.
My experience always was, I mean, if you're an asshole in life, you're likely going to be an asshole in death until you go off and handle your stuff in the spirit world. So there are still jerk spirits, of course. There are still mean spirits. There are still murderers. All of these things that exist in humanity still exist post life until they go and handle their stuff and get their healing and start making different choices.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I've known plenty of assholes on Earth, and if they actually learn a lesson in the next life, then yeah, maybe a good thing.
Could be
But I
your
mean, I must have learned my lesson a couple lifetimes ago, I guess. But So, have you? Because this at this point, I just like to like with the paranormal investigating, I gotta do the shout outs. Because have you ever had any kind of investigation where you came across a demon or
No. And honestly, the man who trained us started the group I was with in the 70s. And he did work with
Ooh.
Jesuits for any kind of stuff that was what he called above his pay grade. And there was only 3 instances in all those years that he came across something that he thought was elemental, other than, it wasn't ever human, or it wasn't a human spirit at all. And he would hand those off to the Jesuits, and he would say, "This is above my pay grade. You deal with it now." So it's really not as common as you see in, you were just talking about media and
Oh,
pop culture.
well, yeah. I mean, I've been told it's not that common, and I kind of can see that. But I also, if because I mean, I to this day question whether demons exist or if they're just really bad spirits. But I, I mean, there's so much. I'm a huge mythology lore buff, and there's so much literature in every mythology lore in every culture about these creatures. Like, yes, every culture needs their boogeymen, but there has to be something out there that started these. There has to be. I mean, every religion has a good and a bad, so
Oh, yeah.
there has to there. I mean, and yes, it's a
But
lot of
there
it's
are often.
propaganda. A lot of it's propaganda. Trust me, I know. I get that. The Catholic Church has been doing that for hundreds of years,
Mhm.
but there has to be bad out there. There really does. I mean,
Oh, there's
whether
bad
it's just
there, but it's in humanity. And the
oh,
problem is, I think we created demons to separate ourselves from our own darkness. If we can say, "The devil made me do it," right? Or "The demon was attacking me," if we can push it off onto something else, we don't have to take accountability for that. And then you have the whole Jewish tradition of the golems. So what if we're creating these things out of trying to push all of our own stuff out, and now we've made it into something?
which is possible. I mean, what are they called? Tulas or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Ah, damn it.
Yep. Tula, yeah.
I mean, Tulas are very real. I think we can create evil just by thinking of it enough.
Absolutely.
But I mean, golems are a good example. I'm happy you brought them up actually, but they're a good example. I mean, actually, one of my favorite X-Files episodes has a golem in it. But it's I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I mean there is evil in this world. You're right. Humanity is uh, Biden. But I mean, we create evil by bringing it into this world. But
And we
I
chose
don't know.
this. We chose to come somewhere that has good and bad, that has a dualistic nature. So we chose incarnation somewhere where we're never going to be completely content or completely happy, because we didn't come here for that. We came here to learn. So we
But
chose
do
a place where you have to have both.
but do places like that exist where there is no duality?
Of
That's my
course,
question.
home.
I
Home
mean,
has duality.
then why would we have left home? That's my question.
Experience it. Think
I mean,
about think about, okay, what's one of your favorite experiences? Let's say at a theme park, standing in the rain, something like that. That is your favorite experience as a human being. You can think about that. You can feel what it feels like to have the rain trickling down your face, but it is not the same as standing in that rain and experiencing it through all
I,
those senses.
I'm see, I'm not a. I hate the rain, but I mean, I'm a smoker. Me and the rain are ancient enemies, and we're never gonna get used to each other. But it's, I mean, yes, I've had those experiences.
Mhm.
I don't really want to say on the show what they are, but I've had those experiences, and I mean, yes, there are great things about this life. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say there's not, but if I could live somewhere where there is no duality and there's only good, why would I want to leave? I'm lazy. I don't want to leave places where I'm happy. Like,
And
come
maybe
on
next time
now.
that's why you come back as a shark.
We got a scammer. Gotta love
Oh, good.
scammers.
Yeah. Trying to reach you
Uh,
about your car's extended warranty.
yeah, basically. And block. That's what they've been hitting my podcast lately. I don't freaking get it. Like they never
Interesting.
did. It never used that before. But uh, and they're coming from my. Oh, okay. Oh, they're coming from Parapost. Okay, that's not surprising. But well, at this point, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you if they are interested in any of your services you offer?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's theintegratedsoul.net. And you can read up all about my services on there. You can book there. You can send me a message if you have questions. My phone number is on there as well. My email if you'd like to contact me that way.
Well, there you go, folks. And I want to thank Jenny for coming on because it's been a fun hour. I got, I love having conversations with people that are in the know because it's just so much fun combo back and forth. And for all my watchers and listeners, you all know where you can find me. If you don't by now, I swear to God, I'm going to put a freaking shame pox in your house at this point. But shame. But check the outro. It's all there as always. And I will be back next week on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday with some paranormal interviews for you guys. So come check them out. And till then, have a good one, everybody. And remember, they're only bad in this world if you create it. So don't create bad. Yes, I know you can't control your kids.